Sal Maiorana of the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle with Armen and Levack on 104.5 The Team. And Sal, now that mandatory minicamp has come and gone with the Buffalo Bills, on a scale of 1 to 10, how concerned should we be about the quarterback position?
Boy, it's the question that just can't stop being asked. I would put it at about 1 being DEFCON 5 war.
Okay.
I'd say about a 3.
Okay. Wow.
I mean, it's not good. It's not good at all. This team has improved pretty much top to bottom throughout the roster, and the quarterback situation is as muddled now as it was at the end of last year, as it was in March when they acquired Matt Castle and Tyrod Taylor. So nothing was settled in these 2 months of off-season, voluntary workouts, mini camps, OTAs. None of these guys looked ready to step up and take the starting job. Now, again, it's only shorts and helmets, no pads, and it's very difficult. Plus, the defense, A, the defense is better than the offense in Buffalo, and B, defenses, no matter what they are always ahead of the offenses at this time of the year. But these guys just didn't look sharp. I mean, you can't. It's hard to fix accuracy if you just can't throw it straight. It's tough to fix accuracy. Sometimes, especially with E.J. Manuel, that's just the way it's going to be. Matt Castle looked like a journeyman, which is what he is, and Tyrod Taylor looks like a 6-foot guy who looks like a midget out there. I mean, he's got a nice arm and he can run around, but I just can't see this guy standing in the pocket and delivering the ball downfield at 6 foot tall. I just don't see it. So, yeah, it's a 3 right now, and we'll see in training camp when the pads go on and it gets real. One of these guys is going to have to step up, and you hope what happens is that one of them really does. One of them really does step up and wins the job. And you hope that it's not going to be the guy who ends up starting opening day happen to be the best of the worst. You know what I mean?
Right. Well,
like the other two guys just stunk, and this guy wins it by default.
Sal, when I hear you say that, it like if you'd said, well, you know what, they just don't understand the offense yet, I might be less nervous. It sounds to me like they can't get the passing tree right.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I think the offense is a very complex offense. Greg Roman's got a thick playbook, which to me is just insane in the NFL. I mean, everything pretty much looks the same to me from Sunday to Sunday, from team to team. But he really does have a pretty complex scheme, a lot of motions, a lot of formations, a lot of personnel groups. So, yeah, that's part of it, is that they are trying to learn a brand-new offense, but they're all learning it at once. It's not like, there's 2 new guys coming into a system who will have to learn it. These guys all started from square one, so it's been a fair competition that way. But it just didn't look like they were really, really sharp. I mean, and again, it's difficult to tell at this time of year, but, it's very easy to see when a guy runs a down and in and the ball's behind him, or a guy runs a fly pattern and it's 10 yards too far or 10 yards too short. I mean, that's the stuff that we as sports writers, we aren't that smart, but we can tell that that's not very good, especially when it's not a pressure situation. There's no pass rush. Generally the coverage is not mixed up coverages. It's basically one-on-one or zone. And these guys just weren't very sharp. So I think people in Buffalo are really concerned about it because, like I said, this roster is built to win right now. They've made improvements. They're pretty good at every position on the team except quarterback. And we all know that quarterback's the most important one. So if he screws it up, it's gonna hurt the rest of the team.
Sal Maiorana of the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle with Armen and Levack. Sal, who was the most disappointing? They were all disappointing. Who was the most disappointing of the 3? Was it Matt Castle, the one whose bar was set high and he didn't come near it yet?
Yeah, I would think that Castle was the one who disappointed everybody the most because he's the guy, he's the 11-year veteran. He's supposed to be able to come in and learn a system pretty quickly and start functioning. And I don't think he did. I think he might have learned it, but he really didn't function very well. I expected a little bit more of him at this time of the year. As you go on now, you would expect the other 2 guys to come along. And I just thought Castle would be the clear front runner going into training camp, and he really didn't distinguish himself. To be honest with you, E.J. Manuel actually looked the best of the 3. And to me, that's great news for the Bills. If he can continue on that path and show some real progress in training camp, I really believe the Bills are dying for him to step up and win this job because that's the guy they picked in the first round 2 years ago. that's the guy they've got. You know, again, it's not a big monetary investment, but when you pick a guy in the first round, you need that guy to play for you. I think they would love to have him win the job, and then you've got your veteran backup in Castle and your project, occasional package of plays guy in Tyrod Taylor to come in. I think that's the Bills' ideal scenario. And again, if I had to give them a grade or an order of preference, I thought it was Manuel, Castle, and Taylor at the end of the mini camps.
Sal, if EJ's playing so much better right now, what are the odds that Matt Castle doesn't even make this team and the Bills save a wad of cash?
I think it's a very good possibility, and I'll tell you what. They did sign Matt Sims. As soon as he got cut by the Jets, Rex had him for 2 years in New York, and he liked him. And now you've got Matt Sims on the team. Now, all he's going to be is a training camp arm. I mean, he has almost no chance to make the team if Manuel, Castle, and Taylor all do pretty well in training camp. If they do pretty well and then go into the preseason games and don't look awful, I think those three guys will make the team. However, Castle's the one on the block. If he goes out in training camp and looks terrible and then is just as bad in the game, I absolutely think that he would be the one that they cut because they would save money. I think it's about $5 million on the cap if they get rid of him. And then you've got Matt Sims as your third-string quarterback. And Matt Sims has been a third-string quarterback for 3 years in this league. So that would be, I think, what would happen if Castle really stinks it up in the summertime.
Sal Maiorana of the Rochester Democrat with Armen and Levack, 104.5 The Team, your whole from New York sports. Sal, I get in this argument with Bills fans all the time. They're so excited about Rex Ryan building this team to be a running machine with the offensive line, talented running backs, and we talked about we're going to pound it down your throat. But does that really make the quarterback position less important? Because I have to argue with guys all the time that doesn't mean your quarterbacks can be crappy. That's not how the NFL works. You still have to have a solid quarterback in that spot.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I don't care how often the Bills are going to run it. If you have no threat at quarterback, you're not going to be successful. Every week, teams are going to notice if the Bills aren't throwing the ball, and we don't have to worry about their quarterbacks, they're going to put 8, sometimes 9 guys in the box maybe to stop the run. And until the Bills can prove that they can beat them with the pass, they're going to keep doing it. And this offensive line is not good enough to deal with that situation on a continual basis. They've made a little bit of an upgraded guard with Incognito, and I think the rookie third-round pick John Miller he's looked great. I mean, again, not full contact in these drills, but he really seems to be a sharp kid, and the coaching staff loves him. He's going to be the right guard. It's his job to lose in training camp. So they're better up front, but they are certainly not the Dallas Cowboys up front. So if teams are going to put 8 and 9 in the box, the Bills aren't going to beat them on the ground. They've got to have a quarterback to make plays. And the other part of the equation is the Bills have some really nice weapons on the outside. When you factor Sammy Watkins, Percy Harvin, now you've got Charles Clay as your tight end, Robert Wood, Chris Hogan is a good, reliable third or fourth receiver. They've got some people who can make plays. So you've got to have your quarterback be able to utilize those guys. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. Not having a quarterback because you're going to ground and pound, that's not how it works. You got to have both functioning.
Now, Sal, in the early part of last season, Doug Marrone and his staff kind of protected EJ, only had him throw the ball in like the high teens. Is that something that we could look at with this year? Maybe he's just put in a position where he can't fail because the game's not on his shoulders?
Well, I think the Bills are going to try to run the ball as often as they can until, again, like I said, teams just make it impossible for them to do it. Now, whether that's going to mean that EJ throws 20, or whoever the quarterback is, throws 20 passes a game and just tries to make those particular plays as high-functioning as possible, I don't know. I think in the NFL, this is a passing league. There's just no way around it. You've got to throw the ball to be successful. So, Rex Ryan and Greg Roman can preach all they want about ground and pound, but you don't win in the NFL by just running the ball. You've got to throw it. So, no, I don't think it's going to be a situation where the Bills throw 15 to 20 times a game. They're going to have to throw it more than that to give your offense a good balance. And like I said, you've got to keep the defense honest and back those guys off the line so your running game can get something going when you need to.
Sal Maiorana with Armen and Levack of the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle. Sal, so far in his career, Rex Ryan has shown that he's not good at all in developing quarterbacks. How hands-on is Rex with the quarterback position, or is this Greg Roman's show?
Oh, it's absolutely Greg Roman's show. And the thing is with Rex, I don't know that it's really Rex's job, or ever has been Rex's job, to develop the quarterback. He is a defensive guy. He makes no bones about it. That's where his skill set is geared towards, and he really does run the defense. I mean, Dennis Thurman, it was his defensive coordinator in New York, and he's here now. But Dennis Thurman really doesn't have a whole lot to do with how that defense is put together. It's Rex Ryan's show, which is why he has to rely on his offensive coordinator and his quarterback's coach to develop the quarterback. I mean, Rex, as the head coach, yeah, he's going to get blamed for not having a quarterback in the first 6 years, 6 years with the Jets and now 1 with the Bills. But that really isn't necessarily his fault. I mean, the front office drafted Mark Sanchez. I thought at the time it was a reach. I didn't think Sanchez was ready for the NFL when he came out of USC. I thought the Jets made a reach at number 6, and it turned out that he had a couple of decent years and then pretty much flamed out like I thought he was going to. Is that Rex's fault? I mean, I'm sure he had a part of it, but, John Idzik was the GM at that time in New York. He pulled the trigger, and he probably said, look, Rex, we need a quarterback. We're taking this guy. So he inherited Mark Sanchez pretty much. He inherits this group in Buffalo. I don't think it's on Rex to develop the quarterback. That's going to be Greg Roman's job.
Sal, in a team with question marks like quarterback, offensive line, and whatnot, what's the feeling in Buffalo about Rex taking days off to go bowling and go visit people and do all those things instead of, keep his guys in camp working on things?
I think it's fine. I mean, you've got to be just an absolute football nerd to think that that's not a good thing to do at this time of the year. This time of the year, man, these guys, they don't want to be here. I mean, they're here because even though it's voluntary, they know, wink, wink, that you're supposed to be there. So they show up and they do their job. They stay in shape, obviously, but it's always good to have the team together. However, when it's May and June, you don't want to be grinding every single day. You still got, once the end of July comes, then you're going to have 4.5 straight months of grinding football. So you don't need to grind it right now. I think it was good that Rex gave them a few days off from the actual OTA practices and did team bonding things. Now, do you need team bonding in the NFL? Probably not as much as you do in college. I'll give you that. But I think it's a good precedent that he sets with his team, that he tells them, look, I trust you, that you're learning this offense and this defense. You're keeping yourselves in shape. We can afford to do some of these things, have some fun, and keep it light before it gets real at the end of July. So I was perfectly fine with it. I think the players liked it, and if the fans don't like it, hey, tough. We'll see. If the Bills go 6-10 this year, we can all look back at minicamp and say, yeah, the day he went bowling and paintballing was the day they lost. They had a losing record. That's why they have a losing record.
Sal Maiorana of the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle with Armen and Levack, 104.5 The Team. Sal, besides the quarterback position, which we have well documented today, the biggest headline that you've seen so far through OTAs is what?
In Bills camp, you mean?
Yes.
I would say the biggest headline, it's tough to say. I mean, obviously the LaShawn McCoy stuff, that dominated things for a while. I don't quite get what his motivation was with the racial comments about Chip Kelly. I'm not going to say that was just a distraction for the Bills, because it wasn't, but it certainly was a little bit of uncomfortableness, I think, around the team with the media, and then McCoy not really addressing it. And when he finally did, kind of that being petulant about it and saying he has nothing to explain to anybody about. I'm sorry, pal, when you bring up race in this country, you need to explain yourself, and he did not do that. So of all the things, I mean, that was an off-the-field type of thing, but that was the headline grabber, at least in Buffalo. If you're asking me on the field, again, not a lot happened. I would say probably the rookie, John Miller, being basically handed the right guard job and pretty much told it's your job to lose. I thought that was a bit surprising, for a third-round guy. If he's a first-rounder, yeah, you understand it. But third-round guy, and they pretty much told him the job's his unless you lose it. So that was interesting, I thought.
Can he do it from what we've seen, or is that nerve-wracking at this point?
No, I think the kid's pretty sharp. What I like about him the most is he played 4 years in Louisville. He's not an underclassman who came out to the draft. He started 4 years in a major program. I think he started 47 games overall. So he's got a lot of experience. He's kind of He's a good run blocker, better than a better run blocker than pass blocker, which is good in this offense, as we've already talked about. So I think it's good that this kid, because they were weak. Their guard play was the worst in the NFL last year. And now they've upgraded, I think, pretty well with Incognito and this kid, John Miller. So I think that was a good thing for the Bills.
Sal Maiorana of the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle. He's on that Bills beat. Check him out on Twitter at Sal Maiorana. Sal, always love talking to you, man. We'll bug you again later this summer. Thanks for hitting us up.
All right, guys. Anytime.